Changes in game populations and domestic species in Kenya, 1960 to 2025. There have been significant changes in wildlife populations and domestic livestock in Kenya from 1960 to the present. Rather than relying on potentially variable absolute numbers, this analysis focuses on documented growth rates and trends for Kenya's wildlife and livestock populations, as reported in available scientific studies. The data reveal dramatic opposing trends. Wildlife populations have declined by an average of 68% between 1977 and 2016, while domestic livestock numbers have increased, particularly for sheep, goats, and camels. These opposing trends reflect complex socioeconomic, policy, and environmental factors that have reshaped Kenya's ecological landscape over the past 6 decades. Scientific research covering Kenya's rangelands, 88% of Kenya's land surface, documents severe wildlife population decline since the 1960s. Most severely affected species, 72 to 88% decline: warthog, lesser kudu, Thompson's gazelle, eland, oryx, topi, hartebeest, impala, Grevy's zebra, and waterbuck. Declines occurred across most of Kenya's 21 rangeland counties. Even protected areas were affected. National parks and reserves experienced declines similar to those in non-protected areas. While wildlife populations decreased, livestock numbers increased significantly. Sheep and goats, 76%. Camels, 13%. Some areas showed a 450% to 17,000% increase. Donkeys, 6.7%. Poultry, annual growth rate of 6.6%. Dairy, annual growth rate of 18.4%. Pigs, overall annual slaughter rate of 7.8%. Cattle were the exception to this trend, with a 25% decrease. This was due to persistent droughts, which forced pastoralists to replace cows with more resilient camels. Kenya's human population increased nearly 5-fold from 8.1 million in 1960 to 44.4 million by 2013. Population in rangelands alone increased 4.8 times to 12.6 million people by 2009. Wildlife numbers decline significantly when human population density exceeds 20 people per square kilometer. Land use and policy changes. Conversion of wildlife habitat to agriculture, both large-scale wheat farming and smallholder cultivation. Fragmentation of rangeland ecosystems. Inadequate wildlife protection outside protected areas, which cover only 8% of Kenya. Differences in land tenure systems, private versus state communal, significantly influencing conservation outcomes. Failure of wildlife policies and institutions to provide economic incentives for conservation on private lands, which includes the banning of safari hunting in 1977. Economic factors. Wildlife lacks economic value to landowners compared to livestock. Shift to small stock, sheep and goats as a strategy for pastoralists facing limited mobility and climate variability. Growth in livestock markets and commercialization. Future projections. Livestock sector growth. Expected to supply an additional 7.8 million tons of milk, beef and chicken by 2050, 150% increase. Human population projected to reach 96 million by 2050, with nearly 50% in urban areas. Economic growth. GDP per capita is projected to increase by over 140% by 2050. The opposing trends of wildlife decline and livestock increase in Kenya represent a profound transformation of the country's ecological and agricultural systems since 1960. These trends will likely continue without significant policy interventions that incentivize wildlife conservation on private and communal lands. Future conservation strategies must strike a balance between the growing demand for livestock products and the need to protect Kenya's unique wildlife heritage. which remains crucial for ecosystem health and tourism.